Yo, audio text. What's up? What's up? All right. So I just wanted to do a quick rundown of my league plan for um the Conflux league start, I guess. Path of Terraria coming out on the 24th. We got 4 days left. I believe. Double check. I'll double check that. But yeah, so my initial idea is to get going with melee. So there's a couple of reasons why I think melee is gonna be a strong starter generically. I think there are definitely other options too, and I'll talk about those probably in a separate thing, and go over some other options and stuff for people who don't want to play melee, or just just in case I decide to change my mind. But I think melee is just gonna be one of the best for early progression, and just the most consistent more than anything, right? So if you're trying to push the XP ladder or speed run as fast as you can, then I think melee is just going to be a great option. And the good thing about melee is you can easily pivot into the range side of the tree, right? So let's I'm just gonna get into it a little bit. So the reason why melee is good, right, is because early progression is so simple on melee. You don't have to worry about ammo. You don't have to worry about mana. You know, you don't need a lot of plus minions to be good, right? So there's a lot of just inherent strength to melee, right? Just because all you need is a weapon, and that's basically it. The tree is also pretty solid. So this is going to be probably my level 20 progression tree, and I'll get into the details of it in a second. But I wanted to just touch on kind of well, yeah. Let's just talk about the build first, actually, and then I'll kind of explain my thought process and what the choices I've made are. Yeah. So melee is going to be the pick, which you start here when you're melee, right? And then if we just go ahead and reset the tree, I'll kind of like walk through. So, early levels are pretty quick for the couple levels. The nice thing, you get plus 10 strength here. I don't know if people are noticing that, but this node and this node are plus 10. Same for everything except Dex, because I think Dex is a little strong, right? I think it gives scaling attack speed as opposed to strength, which gives life, mana for int, right? So, Dex is obviously the most powerful early on, and honestly, just in general. Strength is good though, so you'll get some max life here, and then we're gonna go straight for yo-yos. So this is one reason why melee is quite strong, is because you get access to a very quick weapon cluster here. So there are a couple other classes that get a bunch of damage straight out, range being one of them. Although, yeah, that's a little bit trickier, I think, for like speeding through progression. Yo-yos are easily accessible. You can craft them if you don't get lucky, right, with any drops. Yeah, you can get started on them basically right away as soon as you get some wood and cobweb and stuff, right? Or do you even need anyway? Basically, yeah, it's really easy to get going, and you straight away get 10% increased damage. Probably grab these. And the good thing about yo-yos, well, good or bad, is that attack speed doesn't really do much for you. It just gives you a little bit more distance. So yeah, I mean, size could be okay. I don't really think it's worth the 2 points though. So yeah, the idea obviously is pretty straightforward. You just take this entire cluster, right? Unfortunately, these nodes, I mean, they're just QOL kind of. They're not amazing, but yeah, another 10% damage here. Like these will obviously be just nice to have, right? Speed, range, duration, right? Duration is actually quite strong, right? Because it means your yo-yo is going to be out there for longer, be able to hit more. Yeah, yo-yo range is nice, but again, that does scale a little bit with your attack speed, and we'll get to that in a second. Yo-yo speed is good. I'm assuming this refers to throw speed, like project the speed of the actual projectile. I'm not sure. And then we'll take this node. So there are a couple options here. I'd probably recommend going just the straight up 20% damage to speed out the gate, and then go through tiles. That's obviously just a no-brainer. There is another option. This one, Spool Breaker. Puppeteer might be okay, but Spool Breaker is going to be quite strong, I think, once you pick up the Rage Master over here. Yeah. So then, by the way, shout out to the devs and stuff. They made this. They've been constantly updating the tree, and super informative and stuff. If you ask questions on Discord and whatnot, really good. Like they've even added passive pathing. They've added the search bar and stuff like that just in the span of a couple days. Anyway, so we're gonna be pathing to the rage, right? So rage, actually, let's see. So there's you can check the mechanics here. They've added a rage little window website. So you can see that rage gives you stacking damage, right? And I believe it also gives. Is it just damage? Yeah, it's just damage for now. So yeah, and you can increase max rage. Basically, it's kind of like PoE, right? PoE is 1% damage per rage stack, right? Melee damage or attack damage, not melee damage, but attack damage, right? And it seems to be the same here. It works. Keep in mind, rage only works for melee and ranged damage, not magic, not summoner. So yeah, don't try to take those on those classes. It's not gonna work. Anyway, the good thing about rage is you get damage, right? Damage is the name of the game, and you get a little bit of crit chance too, per stack. And then when you take the mastery in a second, which we'll have to grab these two for, you will be able to then get attack speed per rage if you are deciding to swap off yo-yos early. But this also gives you, because attack speed again doesn't do much for yo-yos, but this also gives a chance for hits to apply twice. So if you decide to take this, then you can kind of swap into this one. Hitting an enemy yo-yo will make it grow until it explodes, right? And presumably being able to hit twice means that this like explode happens faster, right? And that'll be pretty big damage. So the other thing, of course, you could just take if you're not gonna go that and you want to stick with just generic power and maybe a little bit of healing, you can go with the siphon. You can go with 2% max health per rage stack, right? I don't know. The fire conversion might actually hurt you, to be honest. So you got to be careful with that because, you know, if you run into mobs and stuff that have fire res, it's only gonna, you know, make it so you do less damage. And this update is focusing a lot on LE damage and that kind of thing. So yeah, just be careful of that. But I mean, still 2% max health per rage stack is not bad. Again, this is percent max health. So you know, it'll scale pretty hard, but it's not going to be the best early on. I would probably just go for Siphon for a little bit of healing or something. It's really up to you. I think this one is pretty good all around. Obviously, if you're not yo-yos, Raging Speed is just the best. And even if you are, I mean, this might just be the best in terms of damage early on as well. So that'll be the first 20 points, right? And the reason why I'm discussing kind of that 20-point range is because of progression. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the timeline, the questing and whatnot, right? So the way this game works, and if you're pushing the EXP ladder, this matters more, right, than if you're just kind of taking it easy. But quests are the name of the game. They give you a lot of XP. They give you progression, right? You can unlock more stuff and whatnot, right? But that's really the way to do it. It's just to go for the quests and stuff like that, right? And the quests involve killing bosses, right? So I have a character here, just level 26, right? You can see my quest progression. I'm on Queen Bee, Skeletron, you know, that kind of stuff. So this is what you can expect. Where I mean, obviously this is the old patch, right? This tree is not going to exist, and this thing is honestly really broken because you get so much easy access to a ton of damage. So honestly, we might be losing a little bit of power early. Um, it just depends on what the modifier changes. So a lot of the weapon modifiers got adjusted a little bit, right? So if those are really good, then it could kind of compensate. But I mean, you're basically, I mean, you can kind of see what like this sword. This is, for example, this is a magic sword, right? I mean, the crit chance is ridiculous, right? That's probably not gonna happen. And the damage is quite high too. Let me see here. Check the stats here and stuff. So you can kind of get an idea. Um, I've got Dex, which gives 1% global attack speed, right? Uh, which is incredible. 5 max health, right? And then, yeah, intelligence gives mana, which I don't really care about if you're melee. The main thing is, yeah, I don't think we're going to be hitting 322% critical strike chance. You know what I mean? Like, at level 26, I just don't think it's probably not going to happen anymore because you don't get access to stuff like these, uh, flat crit, increased crit chance nodes, right? On every class. It's just, yeah. So there's that. But either way, melee is just going to be nice because, like I said, you can craft your stuff early on. You don't need to rely on any ammo, any luck. You don't need to go out of your way to get mana and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's quite point efficient, quite gear efficient. And again, worst case, you craft your gear. So I wanted to kind of show that off a little bit too. Let's see, no crafting. So if we want to say get a sword, right? Blade of grass, come down here. Then we can. How does this work? Oh yeah. Right click. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So you just bam, right? You craft on it. Oh, and guess what? The mods aren't that great. Well, you can re-roll them, right? Knockback, strength, damage, right? So you can get some pretty good stuff. And of course, I mean, Blade of Grass is a strong weapon, right? There's also yo-yos, of course. I mean, the yo-yos are the ones that I'm going to be using early because of the yo-yo cluster. There's no sword cluster yet. And that'll give you even more damage, right? So you can have an Amazon, you can have whatever. And that'll be pretty strong. Yo-yos are pretty easy to craft too. So if you don't get lucky with any drops and stuff, then yeah, you can just craft them, right? With these, this is basically an alteration orb and yeah, yeah, grants me scour, whatever. And yeah, you can just do that, right? Craft your stuff. Yeah, and this is again like probably you'll probably be looking at this level of attack speed and damage, but yeah, the crit is definitely not going to be there, so keep that in mind. Now, melee also gets access to some pretty nice skills, right? You have this skill, which gives you an insane amount of damage, 100%, 150% more melee damage, right? Granted, you take a little bit more damage, but it doesn't matter when the boss is already dead. And the way I was playing this character, right, is that you just go into the boss, you press your buttons. This Molten Shell is also incredibly strong. You can basically tank a couple hits with it, right? Press it, and yeah, it basically stops some level of incoming damage, right? And it's quite a bit, 75% damage reduction for a few. I don't remember exactly how many hits it lasts, but not too many, but it's enough, right? So you press this, and you get your rage going for 5 seconds. This or berserk, and you can do a lot of damage as long as you have good attack speed. I think they made some changes to that, but yeah, obviously you'd want to be using something like press, probably more DPS in general, because you just have an insane amount of attack speed. So yeah, and again, you'll probably have a good amount of attack speed with rage stacks. You're gonna have good damage. So if you want to go swords, you can. But again, the yo-yo cluster is gonna be really strong. I don't have a yo-yo on hand. I can maybe craft one. I only a wooden one, but I mean, you get the idea, right? I don't have enough to make Amazon, I guess, but that's fine. So that's gonna be the character, obviously, you can also, as melee, run a shield. Shield's really nice because it gives you more defense. I'm sitting at 30 defense right now, just Molten Armor, Worm Scarf, you know, Blizzard in a Bottle. Nothing crazy. And then, yeah, you also get block chance. So I think my character is sitting at, uh, yeah, almost 30% block chance, right? That's not quite cap, it was 10% off cap, right? Basically. Which is really good. I mean, it definitely saves you here and there. And it kind of fits the playstyle too because you're kind of just face taking, killing stuff, at least when it comes to bosses. Um, right. So obviously your clear is not going to be insane like out the gate, but that goes for anything. Maybe explosions are going to be kind of stupid, but yeah. And then let's see. So the other thing is where to go next, right? Where to go next, and some like mid game to end game kind of setups. So if you want to stick with yo-yos, obviously you can. You know, max rage. The thing about max rage is if you're taking something like raging speed, it's good obviously because you know the more stacks, the more what is it? Max health you get, the more where is it? There's a max health. Oh yeah, max health if you're running this one, the mastery. Yeah, so you get either more max health, more crit, more attack speed, more damage, right? So of course you do want to take these, but I will say you might need to mess around with it because obviously this hits applied twice only works when you're at max rage. So if you're struggling to maintain your rage stacks, it might actually be better to reduce them, like not take these max rage nodes so that you're getting this double hit more often if you're running something like the spool breaker setup or something like that, right? Um, yeah, just a thought. You'll have to test it and check like you know DPS and all that kind of stuff. So the good thing about melee is you get a ton of easy access to defense and damage too, right? So there are a couple of ways you can do it. Um, Obviously we have charges. In fact, melee is one of the few classes that can grab all three charge types quite easily. Obviously, you don't really care about proj speed, so this haste charge is not going to be that important for you. But I think they also give move speed and stuff, right? I don't know. So it could be nice to have. But yeah, Aegis charges and focus charges are a no-brainer. The pathing is debatable. But my thought is this way, right? So you can grab the defense. There's a lot of easy defense nodes here. This one gives you just free 10 defense, which is quite strong. 5% damage reduction, 20% chance to block, right? And then, of course, you can take this. I don't know if the numbers are quite right on some of these. I'm sure they might get adjusted, but if this heal is as you know any amount of reasonable, then it could be worth taking. If it's really small, then it probably is meaningless. So yeah, it's a balancing thing, I think. But right now, 15% of damage done is quite strong. If that gets changed, as long as it's even in single digit percentages, is going to be viable. If it's like super low, like 0.5%, then it's definitely not worth taking. But honestly, getting defense and knockback immunity is it's just really nice. It's just really nice, especially for melee, right? Knockback is really annoying. Right. And if you're playing solo, then you don't care about this taking damage from other players, right? So you're not gonna, you're not gonna die because of that. But you do get some more defense, knockback immunity, which if you end up pathing over here for like standstill or something, it'll help, right? Because you're not getting knocked around and whatnot. Yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend specking into bleed super early. But you could grab this one, this notable here, just for that 10% chance to bleed, for that little extra damage. Could be nice. That's always an option, right? The other thing is, of course, pathing up to Aegis charges, and then yeah, and then you could go for some life this life cluster, you could also come over here, right? And then I would recommend grabbing stuff like this because these points here are, unfortunately, these are not. But these 3 points are +5 dex, +5 strength, which is fantastic. That's giving you max life and attack speed. So yeah, you can grab that. The other thing, of course, is that you can finish out this cluster if you really want. Probably this one's a little hit or miss. So obviously, if you're critting, if you have a good amount of crit chance, then of course 30% crow strike damage is fantastic. The problem is we don't know exactly how much crit chance reduction this is going to give because it says minus, some percent, right? This is just a very this number is not 1. It's not going to be 1%. It's going to be some scaling value or yeah, something like that. So just got to be wary of that because it's obviously going to be better to crit more often than crit every now and then for a little bit more damage. This obviously 5% chance could be quite nice. I kind of wish it didn't have the massive knockback because knocking back enemies isn't always what you want to do. But yeah, 1% or more, that it's going to be 1 or more. Like, it's going to be some number percent increased damage is quite good, especially if you're hitting a lot. And then yeah, the size one, this could be okay, depending on. I don't really think you would ever take this early. This is kind of like something you would play later, right? If you're playing like some build that scales quite well with size, so that you hit more stuff, right? Get basically AOE for melee weapons. It's not gonna matter for yo-yos though. I would say this is probably a safe bet. Depending on the crit chance, you can go this too. If you have like good crit on your weapon, and you're able to maintain rage stacks for the crit chance and stuff, then it could be good. So yeah, you can finish that out. Obviously, you're a little over 50. I was trying to hit 50, but yeah, I mean, you could do something like this. Basically, is like good progression, right? So this is going to give you damage, defense. Obviously, damage here, damage, defense, right? And then dex is always good for attack speed. So this node could be swapped for like the bleed node or something, if you want. But yeah, something like that for progression. And then of course level 100, you can kind of do whatever you want, right? With 100 points, you can basically go anywhere on the tree you want. For melee, that means you can switch completely into a ranged build and just pick up some of the defense, rage, and whatnot, right? That would be really strong. And still grab stuff like this, where you could do, path around the edge and pick up these clusters and that kind of thing. Yeah, the most point effective would either come up here or here, grab all this stuff, grab the rage, and then path over here. Maybe you want to path. The thing is, it's not exactly the most efficient path on the outside in this tree, which I do. Yeah, that might be changed later, but yeah, you might actually want to path through the middle here because these nodes are, for whatever reason, int. You don't really care about these, like these int nodes, so little stuff like that. Plus, you get easy access to some other stuff. You want to grab the haste charges, you want to do whatever, that kind of thing. And of course, all the utility clusters are in the middle, which is it can be a little awkward for like when you're trying to really like min max your pathing and stuff, but just something to keep in mind. So you do kind of want to stick. You want to have easy access, right? Because ideally you want to grab stuff like the magic find and maybe even the move speed or fishing power or potions, something like that, right? Yeah, so I think that's going to be the general start. Should probably zoom out. I keep forgetting to do that. For my character, I'm probably going to go melee. I will probably talk a little bit later about some other options because there are other really good options. Just to keep in mind, this explosion cluster is incredibly strong. The thing about explosions are or explosives are they can be a little bit finicky, right? Because obviously you got to get to this node so that you don't take any self damage. Because it can be really annoying if you're using grenades and you're just killing yourself too, right? And obviously all these buffs that you're getting are gonna apply to the damage you take if you're not, you know, mitigating it. So you can just one shot yourself if you're not careful. Obviously you need ammo, you know, whether it be grenades, bullets, arrows, whatever. So that's something you just have to make sure. As long as you're able to keep that up and not have you know, ammo issues or run out of grenades or whatever, then explosions are going to be an incredibly strong start too. Because it's a similar situation to yo-yos. You just come up here, you get 10% more damage, you get crit. Unfortunately, you can't act this way, I don't think, unless this was. I know there's been some adjustments. Maybe I should pull that up. Let me see. Because there are going to be some changes as to how some of this stuff works. So stuff like this node might actually, I think, will be down to 1, so you can just path this way and grab the mastery. In which case, obviously, you get some really nice stuff. The shrapnel just this is going to be incredible, I think. More AoE, more damage, also incredible. Like, you get some really nice nodes. This, of course, is great for clear, but it's not super important early on. Anyway, I'm gonna save that for another time. But just know, yeah, I think the two best starters are gonna be melee and ranged. Summoner. The problem with Summoner kind of remains that you really only get a lot stronger with additional minions, right? So, I don't know what it's called, but maybe minion. If there's, yeah, you basically want more summons, right? And getting more summons can take a while, right? Summoner is not bad though, because you can just go whips, right? And there is the whip angle, so you can go in whips into, you know, more summon stuff as you get more minions, or as you get good ones, because problem is the early ones aren't the best. There are a couple that are okay. So there's that, and then mage. Obviously, you have mana issues, especially early on. The cast speed / attack speed. I think it's just attack speed. There's no distinction here in Terraria, but it's pretty slow at the start. A lot of the mage like class weapons. I'm a Terraria mage is historically like my favorite class. I tend to prefer melee stuff in most games, especially ARPGs, but there are some options. It's just not quite as strong out the gate, right? Because you don't have any crazy easy access to damage, and of course you got to solve your mana problem, right? So, you know, it's gonna be good. Don't get me wrong. I think all classes are viable. But if we're talking about those first 20 levels where you're trying to progress through those early bosses into, you know, hard mode, right? Into 50 points on the tree and that kind of thing, then, you know, once you get to 50 points, I mean, everything's gonna be strong, I think. But that transition period, especially if you're trying to go fast, if you're trying to, you know, be on the ladder, right? Or anything like that, melee and range are definitely going to be the best, I think. Not to mention, range just gets insane scaling with all these attack speed nodes, right? Dex is all just attack speed, which is incredible. Yeah, but the problem again with Ranger is that you don't get defense, or at least you don't get easy access to defense. You can grab stuff like the Aegis charge really easily, which is a little bit more max HP, right? But I mean, that's not incredible. And if you want to path all the way up here, it's quite far out of the way, and then you're missing all the good stuff that Ranger has. Obviously, Rage does work on range, so pathing up here is probably going to be worthwhile. Because Rage is just a generically really strong scaling vector for your damage, and also a little bit of defense too, right? Because you can opt for. Although I don't think you would do that on ranged, but you could opt for you know more HP scaling and stuff. But yeah, you're gonna meld stuff with range. So with that in mind, I think melee is gonna be the pick for me because again, melee is just gonna be the smoothest, and I really value that smooth progression because you don't need to worry about ammo, right? Like range does in the beginning. So obviously, it's not a huge deal. You can just kind of sell stuff and then buy. It's just a matter of you know, are you getting enough gold to both buy the things you need and then buy your ammo? Are you actually dropping? How fast can you get a gun, right? If you're not gonna go the explosive angle, and the explosive angle is gonna fall off pretty hard, right? Because unfortunately, stuff like dynamite and that kind of thing breaks blocks, so it's just really awkward to use as a clear skill. Obviously, in the domains, it'll be fine because domains you can't break the blocks, so it won't cause an issue there. I don't think, unless that's being changed. But it's just this is the only cluster you get, right? There's no, I mean, technically they're projectiles, so any like projectile, I think they removed the additional projectile though. Because it does work on literally every projectile in the game, which includes stuff like explosives, um, even like I think yo-yos, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's classified as a projectile in the code, right? Is part of the issue there. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, and the thing about explosives too is, at least in base Terraria, explosives are not range damage, right? So stuff like these range damage nodes are not gonna work. So yeah, you're gonna want to transition out of explosives, after that, probably those first, 25, 30 levels or something like that. You're probably gonna be looking at, either bows or guns or something. Um, at which point, you could get unlucky and just not drop a gun, um, and then just not have access. I guess, yeah, because the range, unless they've changed it, the ranger quest just gives you a bow, right? So if you're looking to play with guns, obviously you got to contend with, okay, well, you got to get guns and bullets so that the dude moves in, right? Arms dealer and whatnot, and that's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's not that hard, but you basically just gotta rush to the Crimson or something and hope that you get an Undertaker or whatever, right? Or that you pick up like a musket or whatever. Yeah, so I think that's about it for now. I'll probably split this and then go discuss some of the other build options. But yeah, hopefully you guys have a good league start. Anyone watching, because apparently, like I said, I don't really make these for anyone other than myself. But yeah, it's cool that people are tuning in. Um, and yeah, good luck. And yeah, have fun. Peace.